Allow me to take you back. As an educator, I always believed that information is only useful and becomes intelligence in context. So here is some context for you. I want to start by giving you a little bit of a picture of what this field of ours is all about. And it's rather significant, allow me. It began, in realistic terms, somewhere around pre-World War I. And at that time, the ruler, king, queen, tyrant, and his or her army were the emergency planners and managers, loosely stated, for their community at the time. There wasn't much there, and whatever it was certainly framed in militaristic terms. We were going to attack this thing, conquer the problem, and come up with a solution that will eventually bring victory. Things changed a little bit. In World War I and World War II, the military control, the military ideology backed off a little bit. And at that time, we talked about civil defense. And civil defense may have been ex-military guys, but nevertheless, for the majority of time, they were civilian dressed. They were civil. So it was a push away from the military side. And then came the 1940s, late 1940s, and certainly 1950s, and some funny-looking guys got in the act, and they were sociologists. And they came in the field and they said, you know, all these things that are happening out there, the natural disasters, the accidents, and all of those dynamics that happen in the community more often than war, what about them? How do people like you and I, in our family unit, in our organization, in our community, how would they react and why? What's the difference between them? And that opened up a whole bag of worms, if you like, for the military, because no more was it military focused, it now became civilian focused. Psychology and sociology also became a partner in that tapestry that's what's being built. And then also in the 50s and 60s, there was a growth and explosion of knowledge about management and where the organizational behavior and organizational development, and along came crisis management and organizational behavior and all of those facets relating to things that happen in the boardroom. Very different from civil defense. And in the 1980s, we became very focused for a while on IT, particularly on computers. What happens to the bugs, and what happens when things go sideways in the night and you lose your data? And we talked about, at that time, about recovery. That was the big thing. And in the 1990s, especially 97 onwards, with Y2K and all of the other stuff, there was a whole new lexicon that's been added. Business continuity, planning or whatever, business recovery, planning or whatever. The whole notion of the environment became paramount, and at that time, it was not climate change, it was global warming, if you recall that. And of course, 2001, and we have the whole new agenda, perhaps subsuming everything else, and that's anti-terrorism and security. So what am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you that the field that we are in has been not just evolutionary, it has become more and more inclusive, it has become more and more complex, and it has become more and more dynamic, community-focused than just the early days of king and queen saying, don't worry about it, the army has got control, they will sort it out. The army is still part of the equation, and so it should be, but they are not the sole operators. Now we have a whole range of operators. Oh, sorry, my prediction is by the year 2015, we're going to have health, climate change, i.e. the environment, and community resilience as a focus of study, as a focus of specialty, and certainly another layer in the tapestry of our practice. And I hope by that time, our profession, because we're not there yet.